Welcome back to County Connection. For this final segment of our May episode, we are going to talk with our fine folks at the Summit Stage, our free public transit system. And we have with us Jeff Guthrie and Curtis Garner. Welcome, guys.
Good to be here.
Thank you very much.
All right. We're very excited to introduce Curtis because he's our new Summit Stage Director. So Curtis, welcome to Summit County.
Thank you, Julie.
So give us a little bit about your transit background and how you ended up here in Summit County.
Okay. Well, I've been in the transit business for about 15 years. I started in 2003 at a place called Maceability in Grand Junction. And since then, I've had the privilege to work in several different states. And when I had an opportunity to come back to Colorado and to beautiful Summit County, I jumped on it. So that's really what brings me here is coming home.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So the Summit Stage is our free public transit system, and it provides bus service through all the towns and resorts throughout Summit County. And so we have a winter schedule and a summer schedule. And just at the end of April, we switched over to that summer schedule. So Jeff, tell us what changes people can expect relative to that winter schedule, and then also just relative to last year's summer schedule. What changes are out there right now?
Of course. Number one, we don't have any breaks in service in the middle of the day. So we have continuous half-hour service, essentially from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. for all of our commuters out there.
So those buses are coming by every 30 minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Secondly, we're in partnership with the A-Basin ski area. We're running the Swan Mountain Flyer route between Breckenridge and Keystone and Arapahoe Basin 7 days a week through Memorial Day weekend.
All right,
They're
fantastic.
predicting to close around then.
All right, and that's a little bit of a change, right? Because did we not do it during the middle of the week?
Correct.
In previous years?
In previous years, we ran it only on the weekends, but we've seen in very recent years that demand just increase to the extent to where it does need. And Arapahoe Basin approached us, regarding parking concerns and getting people out of their cars up there.
Right.
We're happy to help.
Increasing demand.
Yes.
The supply staying the
Yes.
same. So. All right. So, what else do we have going on in terms of new offerings as part of the summer schedule?
Glad you asked. We went ahead and instituted a 7-day-a-week, we call it Swan Mountain Express route. And it's an express commuter route that runs a couple of times a day. It's not regularly scheduled service throughout the day like most of our routes.
Okay.
There are certain prescribed times in the morning and in the afternoon, evening. That bus runs from Silverthorne Station straight to Summit Cove, over Swan Mountain Road to the high school, and then continues on directly to Breckenridge Station. And it's an express route for all of our workforce living on the Silverthorne-Dillon side of the county that works on this side of the county towards Breckenridge.
Okay.
And it runs opposite direction in the evenings, bringing everybody home.
Okay.
It's a much quicker ride.
Yeah, for sure.
With our Blue River commuter route that we started up a couple of years ago now, this past winter, we ran a 5th later night bus around 9:30, 10 o'clock at night from Breck Station. That was in conjunction with our night skiing Swan Mountain Flyer bus. This summer, we went ahead and moved forward with running that later night route 7 days a week.
Okay,
so
great.
It's in the schedule as such. People can depend on that no matter what day of the week.
Okay, fantastic. And that's really a testament to how successful that Blue River commuter route has been, huh?
It is very much. There's a pretty large bed base up there in Blue River, and those people want to go into town and not have to worry about driving after enjoying themselves. That's great. That's fine with us.
Right? Yeah, let the stage be your designated driver.
Please.
Safety first. So speaking of commuters on the southern end of the county and beyond, there's some, we're kind of having some early stage conversations with some key stakeholders. Curtis, what's going on with that?
Well, the Park County and the communities of Blue River now, or Fairplay and Alma rather, are very eager to have some sort of a transit link between them and Breckenridge. So we're working with a number of the other stakeholders and partners to get this thing rolling. Still have a number of challenges to overcome before we can actually implement it. One, we're looking at getting some buses basically leased to us at a very good price by CDOT. Those haven't been ordered yet, so that's going to be a little bit of a delay in the actual implementation of the plan. And we're still trying to finalize really a base of operations there in Fairplay where we can start the commute every day. Well, one of the great things is we do have employees who live in Fairplay. And so they're already commuting over the pass every day to come to work. So if they could hop in a bus and take some friends with them, that would be a great way to start their day. So, but there's also other financial considerations. Who's going to pay for this additional service? What kind of grant funding is going to be available? Are some of the local businesses going to be able to participate in this? So a few other things to iron out before we can actually get it on the road. But I'll tell you that the enthusiasm and the commitment, I think, from all the partners, including Summit County, Park County, both the towns, Breckenridge, everybody is into this. So I think it's a matter of time. We can't give a more specific date for starting, but we want to implement it as quickly as possible.
Great. Yeah, I would imagine this would be a real game changer for a lot of those folks who live in Park County and are driving over Hoosier Pass, and great to get some of those cars off the road for sure.
Yeah.
Great. And also we've seen a great success in kind of a similar concept with our commuter route out to Lake County.
Very much success. That route's actually, in the 8 years that we've ran it, the ridership has increased over 8 times its initial amount. So,
wow.
Yes, game busters.
Excellent. Let's see. So how about in other kind of forward-looking developments for the Summit stage? It seems like electric buses are just getting more and more traction right now in the transit industry. So what's the Summit stage doing in terms of that trend?
So it's really not a question of if, but when we get electric buses. But there's a lot of, again, questions to be answered. How much infrastructure is going to be required? How far can an electric bus go on one charge? Are we going to need a charging station at the transit center to charge up real quick before we hit the road again? What kind of, is it going to require a whole dedicated electric substation, to operate these things? What are the costs really of electricity if you peak charge it at night versus, trickle charging it over the course of a day? A lot of unanswered questions. Again, funding is always an issue. These buses cost about twice as much as a diesel bus. So what's the schedule look like in terms of getting grant funding? How quickly can we buy them? What do we need to have in place in advance? How do we get our maintenance facility up to speed in terms of servicing these vehicles? So there's a lot of things that we want to do. There's a lot of eagerness and a lot of enthusiasm for this, but we don't want to just jump out and buy an electric bus and then not be able to actually keep it and maintain it and keep it running on the road without it running out of battery charge somewhere on I-70. So yeah, a lot of things to consider before we do it. But again, the commitment from the Board of County Commissioners, as you know, is very environmentally friendly. Everybody here is all in terms of getting it done. But how quickly, how much it's going to cost, what kinds of grants can we get to fund the project? Those are the questions that need to be answered, and we'll be working as diligently as we can to make it a reality as soon as possible.
Excellent. And we have just over the past few years really seen some advances in the technology and the vehicles in terms of their range on a charge and
that's very true. The price tag really hasn't come down significantly, but the capability of the batteries has improved significantly. So you're getting more bang for the buck these days. It might even be a more attractive alternative in a year for all we know. I mean, they really are making rapid advancements. So again, very exciting prospect. And there's a lot of other transit agencies here in Colorado that are jumping right on this thing. You'll know that Breckenridge had a demo bus here for the last month.
Right.
RAFTA is seriously looking at it, Ecotrans. So, we're going to get a lot of information from our peers, what they're looking at. As long as we keep sharing the information, I think that it's really going to help all of us to achieve this as soon as possible.
Excellent. All right. And then another exciting project on the horizon is the Frisco Transit Center. What's going on there?
Another very exciting project. It's a very interesting time to be here, starting fresh in Summit County. There's a lot of things on the burner, so it's great. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention what a great staff of dedicated people we have here, and from the drivers to the people who clean out the bus stops to our support staff at the stage. It's a really great organization with really great people like Jeff here. It's a real pleasure to be working with these folks. So, but yeah, the Frisco Transportation Center We're about 60% design right now. We should be preparing construction bid documents. Our consultants will be doing that this summer, and we think to break ground next year on the site development. And then we're hoping to actually have the building constructed in 2020. We're a little short on funds, but I know we're going to make it happen one way or the other, whether we have to borrow some money and use some of our tax revenue to finance the debt, or whether we can find some additional grants. But again, there's a lot of enthusiasm and support from the BOCC and the Transit Advisory Board to make this thing happen.
Right, and this would be, speaking of game changers, just a really amazing transformation of what happens, and kind of the look and feel and the whole experience there.
The existing facility is definitely showing its age.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this just would open it up and really be kind of a cool hub for people who are changing between all modes of transportation.
You're exactly right. We're creating an entirely new gateway to the county for all of our visitors, our 2 million visitors that take advantage of our services every year. Mm-hmm. It's a whole new look to welcome to Summit County.
Fabulous.
It's a great first impression.
Great. Let's see, anything else that we haven't touched on in terms of new and exciting things at the stage right now?
We got a lot of things on the hopper right now, but I hate to speak prematurely about anything that's going on. But then there's the usual things like state audits and those sorts of things. So always a good time. But we've got 6 new buses coming this year.
I was going to say,
Jeff?
This year and next year, between this year and next year, we were approved for federal and state grant funding for, I believe, 9 total new buses.
Oh, wow.
Between this year and next. Starting roughly next month, we're going to start taking delivery of these. So we're really excited about this.
Yeah, definitely.
Our fleet is showing its age, and so we're very excited to have partners at the state and federal level to help us out with this.
That's great. And so, and are those the grants that we have? They're 80% funded by the state and federal governments,
Correct.
and then
20% local match.
So that's
really
a great
helps.
bargain.
Correct.
All right. And how many buses are in the Summit Stage fleet altogether?
26.
Okay, so this is really a big chunk to
Significant
replace
chunk.
kind of our oldest third.
Correct.
Awesome.
It is. We're very excited.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks you guys for coming into the studio today. It was great to catch up with you and learn about all these fantastic developments that are already happening and about to happen at the stage.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Julie.
All right. And thanks to those of you at home who've joined us for another episode of County Connection. We look forward to seeing you next month.